Okay, we're trying this for the second time today. Please let me know, Gen X News followers, if there is a sound issue. If there's a sound issue, I'm giving up. I have restarted the whole system, everything, and yeah, hopefully it's working. I'm going to have to test it out. But we are live here on X Rumble and YouTube. We are so I think this sounds good. It sounds like it sounds good. I'm testing it out. All right, guys. So we're live on X Rumble and YouTube. And my guest tonight was supposed to be Jack Danger. He was going to come in. We were going to talk about a lot of the politics that's going on. Jack Danger runs a podcast called Secret America. And it's a good podcast. I recommend you check it out. Him and his podcast partner do some really good political analysis of their own with their own opinions. And yeah, unfortunately, Jack had a last minute family emergency. I think he had to tend to that just came up the last minute. Things like this happen. I know I've had young kids and it just happens. And family has to come first. And so I put this show together really quickly. I don't know, maybe that's why everything went wonky. I don't know. All I had to do was restart all my systems, but the last stream, it wasn't working. Apparently, my voice was echoing and it was a little crazy. All right, so my husband says when I was fiddling with my headphones, it went away. So I don't know, I might want to look at some different headphones, but you let me know if it's working, guys. It doesn't work because there's nothing more annoying than when the sound is not right. If there's like a double echo, I absolutely cannot stand that. And I'm chaotic today. Today is a chaotic day. Like I don't have like this perfect streamlined desk. Like if you know me, I have everything I want to do, whether or not I'll get it done in my life. Like I've got paint samples, swatches, because I want to re-go. You see all this little plush velvet wallpaper here. I have to re-go over it. It's peeling off. I actually have to take it off and redo it. I have some other stuff. So I don't know. I was looking at paint swatches. Maybe one day I'll do that. We've got Mr. Owl. My husband bought that for me. I know it's not Moloch. So to hell with you people. I've had so many people be like, you're worshiping Moloch. It's ridiculous. I'm not worshiping Moloch. And I've got the cutest, I got some stamps here, but I've got this cute little card. My son made it when he was really little. I don't know if you can see this, but the writing is, my son's 20 now, but this is him. And it says, you are a super mom. Mom. I'm in like spotlights, like Hollywood spotlights. And he says, to mom, love, my son's name. And so I always have that on my desk. I have a picture of him when he was little, me and him somewhere over there that I keep off camera. And I've got like a memory trove. I have like baskets of stuff in my closet that I'm saving for if he ever has kids. It's like his first sleepers, his first this, his first that. I've got stacks of his first year pictures, and I saved all that stuff. That's what moms are supposed to do. I can't forget, I always have a notepad here because sometimes I'm like totally, I don't know if you relate to the ADHD. We're going to get to Dracula. I mean, sorry, King Charles III. I keep calling him Dracula. I know he's related to him, but he might as well be him. But hey, actually, I'd rather have Dracula right now, to be honest with you. At least he'd probably defend us from Muslims and not invite them in. But anyways, they're related. But yeah, I got this NARS. It's called Orgasm. It's like my favorite shade from NARS. I always have a notepad. I was saying ADHD, like sometimes thoughts come through my head And I try not to interrupt my guests, but sometimes it happens or I blurt it up, but sometimes I have my notepad and I write it down, or I have points that I want to cover, like a little outline, or I'll write a quick note down, like, don't forget to ask this. Because sometimes thoughts come in and then they leave just as fast as they come. So you have to kind of catch them, catch those thoughts, those dreams, those ideas before they float away, right? All right. So I don't know what kind of audience I'm going to get because people might think I've just shut it down. Oh, and I haven't had nobody's on YouTube. It's because they probably can't see it. They probably think I shut it down. I'm so sad. Yeah. Hmm. Weird. Okay. So I'm just looking at my messages to see how things are going. I'm so sorry. I'm a little bit off balance because the tech problem. So I don't know. Maybe it might be a thing where I have to restart my computer all the time so that I don't have that. I've had that before with the microphone and weird stuff, and restarting my computer seems to do the trick. So I might have to look into that. But remember, guys, let's pop up. Let's pop up the website so you guys can see what the website actually looks like now. You guys can always go to the website. It is genxonx.com. It's got all the links there. I have been working on this super cool documentary for my subscribers on X. So if you are a subscriber on X, you're getting a little 12, 11 minute roughly documentary. This Friday, it's going to drop. I've been working on it for a while. I was working a job and I couldn't get to it. I was just so exhausted. Now that I quit, I got to it. So it's going to be out this week. And it's on a Ted Bundy location here in Utah that I went and visited. And I'm talking about the mythology of it. And we go for a hike. It's just a little mini documentary for my subscribers. But you can become a subscriber on X. If you go to my website, you'll see it's got the audio podcast. Oh, Canada, elect debate. It tells you some of the stuff that's coming up. On the 23rd of April, we're going to be exploring UFOs with Dr. Dean Bertram. And then it's got the latest shows. You can see some of the stuff. But of course, you have to subscribe on the platforms where we live stream because that's the best place. You got X, Rumble, and YouTube where I live stream, where you can join me live. I try to do it. I'm going to go for Sundays right now. Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But that could switch. It depends what happens. But that's what I'm going to try for. I need to have a few days off in a row so I can get other stuff done. Otherwise, I'll never get it done. It's just unfortunate that the YouTube doesn't seem to be up there. So we're going to be talking about King Charles III, and there has been some really disturbing stuff going on. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, you guys. I never thought that I would. And what's happening, what seems to be happening, is that to really, in my mind, be betraying his English heritage. If he is even really English. I mean, let's be honest. Shit, you guys know? Look at this. Look. YouTube put a note. Okay, I gotta show you guys this. Hey, Maxfield. Max, how's it going? Maxfield is in the house. So I got to show you what they put on the YouTube video because we're about to talk about King Charles. I think they probably know where this is going. So here it is, live on. I'm going to show you guys. This is really funny. We'll get to it, but they put a Wikipedia note, and we all know who runs Wikipedia. I don't have to say. It says reptilian humanoid. Wikipedia, reptilian humanoids are anthropomorphic reptiles, also called reptiloids, appear in folklore, fiction, and conspiracy theories. Don't show this again. I'm like, here's what it says. I put King Charles III, the end of England, King of WEF. And so it's because I put this one line, Reptilian Blood Line. Oh dear. So it got a warning. It's telling you it's all fiction, guys. There's no reptilians. That doesn't happen. Maybe, and you know what? Maybe it is fiction. Maybe there's no such thing. Maybe there's no such thing, but you know what? If there's no such thing, then there's no worry about talking about it, right? It's just so funny how they feel like they have to be the arbiters to put this stuff on. But that was humorous. That was humorous. That was good that they put the note on it. Okay, so let's go back to the website. Because I was just basically letting you guys know, if you go to genxonx.com, it kind of walks you through. But of course, first and foremost, click the thumbs up bell. If you're listening to this on Rumble, go over there and all you have to do is click thumbs up. I mean, it's such a little thing that you can do to help this show. Click the thumbs up, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hammer that bell, you guys. Push the bell because it will alert you when I'm going live. Same with on Rumble. Have it alert you that we're going live here. And that way you'll know. Okay? You'll know when it's going live. Whatever your preference is, Rumble, YouTube. We're also streaming on X. And that's at Gen X News on X. But yeah, the website, I'm good with it. I'm good with it, and it's in sections. So we'll be doing the UFOs. We've had JFK as a topic. We're going to be streaming the Canadian debates, and I know most of you are American. I live in America, but I'm going to stream some of those Canadian debates because, like I said, some strange, crazy stuff is going all over the world, and I don't know if we can stop this shit, guys. Like, I don't know if we can stop it. I don't know if it's possible. Maxfield said, "What? I thought I could believe you." Well, I would believe me over most of the other stuff out there. I might be mistaken by a few things, but I would say, okay, that needs to be correct. I'd believe me over King Charles III. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And so if you know anything about the topic today, I don't know how many of you are royalists. My grandmother loved the royal family. Okay. But, they're coming from a family that probably originally a lot of the English side through her mother came up through America. And after the American Revolution happened, a lot of them went up to Canada and based out of there. And that's how a lot of that went. And there's different lines from different places, but my grandmother's mother's line was the one that actually went up to royalty. You could actually trace it. And I haven't gotten that far back yet. Maybe I will. We'll see. But there's some places where you can trace it up to the Plantagenets. Like a couple siblings, not Richard III, but some of his siblings. And so there may be many Americans, if their relatives came off the Mayflower, that they go back up there. They go right up to English, at least a knight, at least a sir, or something like that, or maybe even some kind of Plantagenets. And if you know anything from one of my shows I had earlier, I have to be very careful because they are doing some crazy speech controls going out there now. You can't say anything, but the English royal family was infiltrated, and one of the points where it got damaged and infiltrated, I mean, they're always warring, but one of the points you have to look at is the English Civil War. When they had King Charles I executed through Parliament and Cromwell took over, that was the KM, the mafia, the Kaka mafia, the Kaka mafia. We'll call them Kaka mafia. That was them. And through Rothschild bloodline, they've been interbreeding apparently with the royal family ever since they took over. And most of the people who are ruling the royal family right now they're more like related to German, probably. They're Saxe-Coburg Gotha. They're not even really English. And I always had this suspicion about why King Charles III, then Prince of Wales, married Diana Spencer. Because if you look at her, I believe her bloodline actually goes up to the Stuarts, which really were the last reigning kind of real English Scottish family of England, pure. that's it. After that, it went over to Europe, and of course, let's be honest, they're always interbreeding, all the elites, all the time. But there's something that happens after the Stuart line that gets a little bit weird, and that's when you see the banking system really come into England and take over, and Rothschild. We got a little. One of my audience members, Max, says that's when the lizards got into the mess. Well, I'm sure they've been entangling ever since, but this was a paramount moment for the history of England. And so, like I was saying about Diana, I think she was just a tie back to that English bloodline. They're obsessed with bloodlines. And I don't know how to make of it with Catherine and Meghan Markle. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe this is part of the strange plan that they have, because they usually tend to be obsessed with bloodlines. And here we have Charles III. Look, I just clipped this from the internet. I don't know if Charles is really a 33rd degree Mason, but they're linked in with the Rothschilds. And one of the things that the Rothschilds has said is, it's one of them, and I forgot who it was. I actually talked about this on my show on the KMs. It doesn't matter to the Rothschilds what puppet is sitting on that throne. So right now it's King Charles III. They control the banking. They control England. They control Europe. They control this democratic globalist thing. And that includes a certain country that's going after Iran right now. They're linked to Ukraine because they're all that KM. They're all that type of, you know what? I can't even say it because it's getting so crazy. But this is the whole, simplistic. I bet you there's something above Rothschild that we don't even know that doesn't want us to know its name. But that's it in a nutshell. And we've got some strange stuff coming out of King Charles. He seems to be this leader. He's come in, he's older. His mother reigned for such a long time. And then he's diagnosed with cancer. This is one of the questions. My husband's like, that's weird that he got cancer. Elites usually never get cancer and die of cancer. Maxfield said, like freshen the bloodline. Yeah, they're kind of tying something in there. And remember, she was a lot of people think that her death wasn't just an accident, that it was a planned ritual. I cannot say if that's true or not. I don't have a smoking gun on that, but that's a belief that that was a planned ritual. And these guys believe in rituals. And they have one public ritual that they'll do with the Anglican Church. And of course, we know the Anglican Church came about because King Henry VIII wanted a divorce, essentially. So the Catholic Church wouldn't give it to him, the Pope. So he said, to heck with that, being the narcissist that he was. And he ordained himself the head of the Church of England. So literally, Charles is the head of Church of England. But the Anglican Church is all shot to heck. They've got female leaders, bishops, whatever you call them. They've got trans stuff in it. They got, the sanctity of marriage has been destroyed. Once we did that, it's downhill. And this isn't me saying, oh, you shouldn't be gay or attacking people. But once you redefine marriage, it unravels society. And you can be a narcissist and say it's all about you and your, everyone's literally saying to us, it's all about me and who I want to bang. And they're obsessed with sex, like to the level where it's like, it's getting creepy. It's not about procreation. It's not about family. It's not about loving children and everything. It's about this obsession, almost this fetish. It's getting weird. So once we change that, society was bound to get crazier. And that's, of course, what the elites really want. That's what they really want, is this chaos and crazy. Because if they can shift us, mess our identity, separate us from our ancestors, bomb the crap, and move everybody, eventually everybody forgets. And eventually everybody becomes slaves of the globalist New World Order. They're not attached to their heritage. They're not attached to anything except for the banking system, money system, the government, the never-ending stuff that tells them who they are. and what to do. They're not attached to their heritage anymore. I mean, that was part of processing people into the cities anyways in industrial times and getting them out of the countrysides where they lived. Is it, in my opinion, it's a very devious, super devious. But anyways, we're gonna go through some videos. We're gonna look at what King Charles has said and how he's inflamed. Sean Thompson's here, globalist. You got it. Let's go and look at Charles' speech about Islam. And this is really interesting because we're going to look at a video about him being related to Vlad the Impaler. If you know anything about your Vlad history, you know that Vlad deeply loathed the Turks. He was at war with the Turks, which essentially were Islamic. And he is known for doing some pretty graphic, horrific tactics to terrify them and keep them out of Europe, including impaling many Turks, maybe even many locals, on sticks, on impale them and stick them up like a forest of dead corpses to intimidate people not to mess with him. So let's see if we can find, I have a clip here of King Charles.
Blessed and fulfilling Ramadan.
So because there's so many Muslims in England, in the United Kingdom, now in the United States, you guys know that they're literally in Texas, is Islam, and they are creating Sharia cities and everything. I mean, they're already, masses of them are in Minnesota, and they're already trying to take over places in Texas. Right? So we got, it's just so crazy. So here we have King Charles in his speech about Islam. Remember, he's related to Dracula, who would have staked these efforts for Christendom. And he's betraying Christendom and letting his country be invaded and his people be thrown in jail. And he has no power anyways, but his people are being thrown in jail for tweets, and his people are being suppressed if they even have any pride in their own culture, being called racist. But, you can be a violent Islamist. You have to be careful about what you say to them. It's disgusting. And this guy's going to lead the way. I'm not saying his mother's some perfect person, but this guy is disturbing. Mr. Sausage Fingers. Let's see what he has to say.
We hope that you have a blessed and fulfilling Ramadan. Peace be upon you all. Ramadan Mubarak.
King Charles has quoted the Quran in a Ramadan message that has taken the UK by surprise. King Charles' words, "God does not burden any soul with more than it can bear," have sparked debate across the country.
As Muslims across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth observe the beginning of the holiest of months in the Islamic calendar, the month of Ramadan.
In his speech, he sent warm wishes to Muslims observing the holy month and praised their contributions to British society. He highlighted how Ramadan reflects values like charity, unity, and compassion, adding that Muslim communities play a vital role in shaping modern Britain. The king also spoke of how mosques bring people together and how families open their homes to friends and neighbours of all backgrounds. This isn't the first time Charles has supported interfaith dialogue. As Prince of Wales, he expressed a desire to be seen as a defender of all faiths. However, some reactions have been critical, with questions raised about tradition and the role of the monarchy. Is King Charles promoting unity or changing royal expectations? Share your thoughts below and don't forget.
Okay, so, my thoughts are that King Charles is part of this globalist plan, obviously, and they're importing people in purposely. Keir Starmer has said that. Keir Starmer has been part of that. Keir Starmer is so hideous. What a hideous, odious man. And they're trying to brainwash people to accept a culture that does not merge with their culture, that radically screams and yells and wants to change. They want to take over everything. They want Christians dead. They probably don't like they just don't cohabit very well. They hide the levels of rape that is up all over Europe. And Europeans are so brainwashed and weak, the citizenship, they're so worried about racism. Oh my God, that they literally are going, oh no, it's great. Like that it's like you could stab them. So I shouldn't say that. Like a Muslim person would stab them and they would be like, oh, that poor Muslim person's probably traumatized from moving here. Where a healthy person's response would be, get that out of my country. This is not good. That's actually a healthy response. And they're trying to convince you, King Charles is trying to convince you with his weak, wimpy, he's a weak king too. He's weak. He can't even pretend to be strong. Even before he had cancer. He's weak. He's a weak person. I've never really liked him. He's also always been a vegetarian. And he's always been into this World Economic Forum. He's like long engaged in it. And of course, do I have pictures? Yeah, I already showed you the picture of him. And there he is. And people in my audience rightly identified that they use Black people and Muslim people as like a bioweapon in white countries. Everyone knows this. That's why they mass import them in and they traumatize. For some reason, they hate their own people. I'm not sure. Maybe it's this bloodline that they're trying to, it's to take down Western civilization. But why? Because it's this here's what really messes me up is this whole globalist system is based on Westernization. It's based on American that links to the British Empire. It's based on this consumer, spread the Western nation. And it's like, why do they want to take us down and make us weak? It's baffling, but obviously there's some kind of crazy magic going on that I'm not aware of. Perhaps they prefer people with slave minds than people who will fight back and are independent. I think that might be more what it has to do about is that sort of slave mentality. You know what I mean? It's quite disturbing. So let's go look at why Mr. King Boy. Let's look at his history with Vlad the Impaler. Now, I love Romanian history. I am half part of is English. My other half is Croatian, kind of Romanian, that area. So I have a love for all of these countries in Europe, but they're so modernized now. Like before the wall fell down, the Iron Wall. You would have gone to these countries and they would have been, right from ancient history. Right from ancient history. It would have been there. It would have been like so I have a friend. Her father was also Yugoslavian, what we call Macedonia now. So my father came from Croatia. Her father came from what she called Yugoslavia. It all broke up. Yugoslavia broke up and it became Macedonia. And she went back there in the 80s when she was a little girl before the wall fell and the USSR became Russia again. And they still had like outhouses and they, the relatives there would dress her up in this traditional garb and make them sing. And they lived like a really frugal life. She was like, wow, she was a little bit shocked and she didn't like it because she's used to that kind of thing.
Facts.
Here.
Prince Charles.
So I'm not saying that Joe Rogan said this. This is probably an AI of Joe Rogan. They do that a lot, but it just gives you a little clip of the bloodline. But anyways, that stuff is slowly fading everywhere. Heritage, folklore, bloodlines, knowing your bloodlines, knowing your family, it's going away. And they're going to do that in the Middle East. And like I said on my other show, they're after relics. They're almost like Nazi relic hunters, whoever these people are who are in power. We won't say any names, Won't say any religion. Roseanne thinks it's the Muslim Brotherhood, and Roseanne needs to stop drinking wine. Roseanne drinks too much. It's not the Muslim Brotherhood. They're just used as a weapon, like you guys said. They use them as weapons. So let's play this thing on. We're getting back to King Charles and his bloodline to the Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Chapes. Here we go. Check it out. Oh. Apparently it doesn't want to play. Let's get it all the way back here. We're having trouble playing this video. Oh, really?
He's a direct bloodline of Vlad the Impaler, the OG Dracula.
Facts. Prince Charles is a direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler, the 15th century ruler infamous for impaling his enemies on stakes. Vlad wasn't just a brutal warlord. Legends say he bled from his eyes and may have actually consumed blood. Familiar? That's Dracula. The book and the movies, all based on him. Now, Charles didn't just acknowledge this connection, he leaned into it. He bought Vlad's actual castle in Transylvania, keeps it ancient, untouched, no renovations, no modern upgrades. Since 1998, he's made it his personal retreat, visiting every spring. I mean, who does that? And Transylvania? It's like stepping back in time. Old world farms, crumbling houses, not a car in sight. What's Charles doing there? Reenacting Vlad's life? Channeling his inner Dracula? It's hard not to wonder. Look, maybe he's just fascinated by history, or maybe he's embracing more than just his heritage. After all, why own Dracula's castle? This is just scratching the surface of royal mysteries.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
This is just a theory, not a fact. Okay, so he does. King Charles is actually very interested in farming. He does own property in Romania, I think. And he is related to Dracula through his grandmother. No, not his. You say his grandmother? I'll tell you in 1 second. He is through his great grandmother Mary of Teck. Well, she was descended from two of Vlad the Impaler's sons. That's where it comes from. That's the connection. So Mary of Teck, Queen Mary, his great grandmother, was a descendant of Vlad the Impaler's son. Remember, all these royals, they all interbreed. They're incestuous. And we're going to come to, I've got some stuff, it might seem way out there, but there's a lot of diseases that happen because they interbreed and they're incestuous, right? Like even King Charles's mother and father are distant cousins. They're cousins. I don't think they're like first cousins or even second cousins, but they're cousins. And it was common to marry close, marry very close. And the Rothschilds, they interbreed. They interbreed. And so I think maybe Diana, maybe they realized they had to kind of split it up a little bit with Diana. And if they're going to call Diana as a commoner, I find is very funny because she's actually got more bloodline linked to the original blood, kings and queens of England than the Windsors or Stu. You know what I mean? It's really crazy. So, yeah, he is linked to Dracula, and he also, this is feudalism. This is a sort of neo-feudalism that's happening right now, and I think that's the goal. And I talked about it. My audience members have said yes to have us as slaves. We say we won't be slaves. No, we don't. Well, that's the thing. We won't be slaves. We fight back and we push back. That's the American spirit. That's the spirit they're trying to kill. Canadians don't have that spirit, by the way. They don't. They are so inundated with one voice media. It's like the media that all says the same thing, and they're so unaware that when they're all saying the same thing, they think that means that it's correct. And the opposite is true. When you have media, you want variance in voices, you want variance in opinions, you want multiple different reports, and they can agree upon certain facts that get told by the police, but you want to have some different variances. You don't want word for word reports that sound the same. That means you have propaganda. You don't have real journalism. So everyone we're talking about Roseanne. Well, Roseanne, here's what Roseanne believes. And I said this in the chat. Roseanne believes that the Muslim Brotherhood runs Hollywood and the media. I'm not going to say who really does, but it's not the Muslim Brotherhood. And it's funny that Roseanne is actually saying that. I think Roseanne has brain damage, sadly, because she was complaining on her show way back that, who was it? DC Drano or somebody like that. An influencer was at some event and they ignored her and were annoyed, but she was drunk and ranting on at them, and she thinks it's okay. She's like, yeah, whatever, la la la. And I was like, well, of course he ignored you. You were probably annoying because you're this 70-some-year-old drunk celeb that's yelling at everybody, and you're ranting on and not making any sense. And she's just so cryptic and weird, and she doesn't make any sense. And of course, she never says who is this and who's in charge, and she just rants on about satanic this and satanic that. And it's like, at some point someone has to start listing names and listing strategies, otherwise it just becomes bullshit after a while, right? Literal bullshit. So in the big kind of picture of things, King Charles III, the minute his mother died and he assumed the throne, I was like, oh, I knew. I was like, okay, we're coming towards crazy times. And one of my older friends who I don't talk to anymore, won't go into that crazy stuff that she visited upon us, but she used to think that, and she probably still does think, that King Charles is sort of like a big horn, and there's like a big horn and little horn in sort of end of days, and William's little horn. I don't know. But it's weird. My husband said, like, why in his mind, most elites don't get cancer, because he's saying like they already have the cure. They know the cure. They know the prevention of cancer. So he was always like, this is really weird that he's got cancer. It's almost like they plot things like, okay, you're here for a while and then you're going to go and we're going to put somebody else. And it'll be William. And I just wonder what William's going to be like, because everybody seems to think he's this nice, dandy guy. And I'm thinking, well, we'll see. We will see. We will see. Okay. We will see what happens with that. But we have a leader of a country, and he's not really a leader. He hasn't got that much power. But we have somebody who is a head of state, a representation of a country that is telling their people to submit to a hostile invasion, which is, of course, the mass immigration of Muslims that's taking up like 18% of their population now, and is overbreeding them. And they're encouraging this, and they're shaming, and they're arresting, and they're abusing their citizens if they don't. I can't think of anything more evil to do to your people than something like that. I don't know about you, but I don't know. I think it's pretty evil. I think it's pretty damn evil. Let's see. I had articles on Yandex pulled up, and I had to restart my computer to do this system, so hopefully there they are. They're still there. Okay, well, I'll read from them in a moment. We're going to look at this, though, because the royal family is tied to Rothschild. Is tied to banking system. The British Empire became the banking empire. And I was talking about this video on my KM series, right? Uh-huh. Quiet. My phone's spying on me. Siri's like, uh-huh, what are you saying? Did you hear that? Did you hear Siri talking? She's spying on me. She's going to report me in. Oh my God. So I was talking about my show the other day, last week, and we were talking about the Rothschilds and the incest. And we're going to get into this porphyria disease and all this stuff that comes up in these royal families. And one of the Rothschilds said this quote, and I didn't have the clip. I have it now, and we're going to watch it. And what they actually believe is really gross, and it's disturbing, and it is actually mental illness. And this might explain why they're so fucking crazy. This is, I'll get her name in a second. She is she's a Rothschild. I think it's like Natalie to something. I can't remember. Yeah, she's a cousin of David de Rothschild, Nathalie Rhymes. And this is what she said, guys. Take a listen to this. And this is her basically admitting that they interbreed. And that's interbreeds putting it nicely. This is in 2013.
Et puis comme on faisait très souvent dans ces familles-là, vice is nice, but incest is best because it stays in the family. Vous savez, on est élevé tout simplement avec le silence pour que surtout rien ne sorte. À partir du moment où, et d'ailleurs je le vois bien, j'ai écrit un roman, et merci beaucoup madame, j'ai été aussi sincère que possible. Mais au fond, j'ai écrit le 10e de ce que j'aurais pu écrire. J'avais sans arrêt des barrières, des balises, des phares.
So we can't hear anything else. She's speaking in French. So we don't know what else she's saying. But she's literally telling you their belief was, and she said it, vice is nice, incest is best. And they believe this because bloodlines are important. It's something to do with their dark magic and their rituals. And they have to have this bloodline because they're for their plans to carry out. They have 500-year plans. They do not have, like, you're like, oh, they're doing 2030. Yeah, they've been planning 2030 since 1750 or whatever. You know, it's just a dot on their big picture. And they have to have this bloodline carry on and the family being tied together very strongly to make it. I mean, you have to really focus on weakening that. And there's probably something above the Rothschilds that is unnamed that doesn't want you to see it. And so we are like, yeah, a lot of any of these religions that interbreed, they'll either have a lot of diseases or you'll like there's a lot of interbreeding with the Palestinians as well. And so they'll either have a lot of different diseases. They'll, like in the royal family, they get that horsey face. They start looking like a horse. It's the deformation in the teeth and the jaw. They'll also have really low IQs. They'll like have retardation level IQs. And all sorts of diseases start coming up. This could be super crazy what I'm about to show to you. Absolutely nuts. It's from a guy on YouTube. His name is WR Shock QBD. His handle is at iontex_PEMF. At iontex. That's at IONTECS_PEMF. And he's got this thing on the royal family and porphyria disease. Another disease that was common in the royal family, the Tsar Nicholas, the one who was executed by the Bolsheviks, his son had it, is hemophilia, where they cannot clot. Maybe that's what... Here's another thing that's interesting. Clotting diseases are a big common problem. And you know that adrenochrome, the synthetic adrenochrome, is developed for clotting the blood. So it's interesting that people keep mentioning adrenochrome and children and fear and getting the adrenochrome from the blood, because hemophilia is a disease where you can't clot and it's an inherited disease. So it's kind of an interesting correspondence. I'll have to say that right off the bat. Remember that. My audience says maybe they're not lizard people, maybe they're horse people. Well, it's interesting, and you'll see here we go. So this WR Shock QBD, some doctor of some sort, says porphyria, blue blood disease. The reference to blue blood being different from red blood in humans is clinical fact that royal blood, a bluish purple, is reptilian that doesn't coagulate should they get cut unless they consume red human blood. See what I mean? That is the link to the adrenochrome stuff that people talk about, because synthetic adrenochrome that they've created a synthetic version of is used for blood clotting. Okay, and even then, they can still suffer from porphyria in many different ways, including going mad. King George III was known to have this. This is because that blood type was smuggled into this realm against official treaty. Now, he goes into stuff that I don't know if it's true. Like official treaty, I don't know if he's making this up or he's just kind of crazy. So just go with him. But there's something to this whole thing. It is an atmospheric complication. When King Charles visited Transylvania, he admitted to the press that he was a direct bloodline descendant of Vlad the Dracul, we just talked about, that drank his victims' blood daily with lunch. Now, we don't know the levels of it. I'm going to interject here because a lot of the stuff in those times was propaganda. Like a lot of the woodcuts was like political propaganda. So you have to remember that people did propaganda on each other in those times. They didn't do it the way we did it. They had woodcuts or paintings, or they would build like archways with epitaphs in them to scare people, and in visual. It was a lot of visual stuff because most people couldn't read. So remember, a lot of the stuff about Vlad the Impaler could be true. It could be propaganda as well. So we have to keep that in mind. But let's keep reading this. Vlad was known as Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Impaler, and Vlad the Dragon. And it references the Enki, Lucifer, the patrilineage father from the lines of Leviathan, Seraphim, Cephalium, Anunnaki. The Leviathan portion of that bloodline are actual dragons. Now, they'll talk about George the Dragon, slaying the dragon. They'll probably say it in a very different line. Now, he talks about O negative bloodline. My ex-husband was O negative, so I don't know if there's anything to this. There's probably a lot of O negative people on this planet. He says, this type of bloodline is an O negative, meaning there is no rhesus monkey genes in their body. All children of Adam and Eve have rhesus monkey genetic markers, as that new Hyksos human hybrid creation had some human earth monkey DNA added to make them more agile. He's saying we're a hybrid anyways, but we have monkey rhesus. It is physically impossible for rhesus monkey genes to be in a human body outside of genetic splicing, as two species cannot procreate together. If you have a plus sign after your blood type, you came from Adam and Eve. If you don't, then you are either one of the original humans that predated the Eden event by 550 million years. I don't know if any of this is true. This sounds a little bit crazy to me. Or you are from one of the many dozens of ETs that were given a pass-through, integration into human. And my husband said that there were some remote viewing people that said that one of the things that the elites all have in common, is they're interested in aliens or ETs, politics, and the occult. Those are three things that they focus highly on. So it's interesting that we're hearing all these sort of ideas. Now he says the problems blue bloods have had all down through time is the problem that blue bloods have had all down through time have been constant but hidden from the great unwashed. I'm podcasting, babe. My husband's calling.
No. Well, I went to the podcast. It wasn't playing.
Oh, it's there. We're there. We're live.
Okay. All right. I love you.
Okay. He's going to come and join the podcast. It's there. It's totally there. I'm going to have to send him the link. That's funny. So we got, it says the problem blue bloods have through time have been constant but hidden from the great unwashed, but it is real reason for the story of the Emperor's New Clothes that actually happened in Enki's royal descendants. So remember Emperor's New Clothes. Notice how Wiki launches directly into vampires and werewolf legends under the medical explanations of royal diseases, as if no one is going to put those two things together. So Porphyria has been suggested as an explanation for the origin of the vampire and werewolf legends based upon certain perceived similarities between the condition and the folklore. In January 1964, paper on Porphyria and the etiology of werewolves that was published in Proceedings of the Royal Society of Medicine. Later, Nancy Garden argued for a connection between Porphyria and the vampire belief in her book. In 1985, biochemist David Dolphin's paper for the American Association for Advancements of Science, Porphyria, Vampires, and Werewolves, the etiology of European metamorphosis legends gained widespread media coverage, popularizing the idea between these diseases and reports of vampirism in Europe. The theory has been rejected by few folklorists and researchers as not accurately describing characteristics original to werewolves and vampires. Okay, and remember, vampires need the blood, and apparently, so do elites. They might need some blood too. There's all these interesting overlapping things with this idea, like I was saying, of you get these diseases that happen from interbreeding. And they come up as like mythologies, and you get these crazy royals like attacking people, like just like the Countess Bathory, Elizabeth Bathory, and they're like consuming blood. We have it recording. Do we think they've stopped? I don't think they've stopped. And like I said, there's diseases like Porphyria, there's diseases like hemophilia, and hemophilia was like in all throughout the royal family, Queen Victoria's royal lineage, where the blood doesn't clot. And of course, like I said to you already, the synthetic version of adrenochrome is used to stop the blood, make the blood clot. So what do you think they've been doing? They've developed rituals and weird, strange things, right, around blood taking from people who have the blood that will, they've learned that if they terrify them, this chemical gets in the blood, they consume the blood, it alleviates something. It doesn't solve it because they're incestuous freaks with the bloodline, but it alleviates it. And then may provide some other, I don't know. Now, I could be right up to lunch on this one. I could be totally out to lunch, and you can call me this crazy conspiracy theorist. But those things, I mean, it's an interesting coincidence. Let's just put it that way. An interesting coincidence. As it was believed that the folkloric vampire, we're going back to the X profile here, could move freely in the daylight hours, as opposed to the 20th century variant. So the one that we have developed where they can't go out in sunlight, that's not original to the folklore. It's not even in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Read the book. I've read it many times. It was one of my favorite books as a teenager. Dracula moves about during the day. His powers are weakened though, but the sun does not kill them. That came about in movies. All right. So congenital erythropoietic porphyria cannot readily explain the folklore vampire, but may be an explanation of the vampire as we know it in the 20th century. In addition, the folkloric vampire, when on Earth, was always described as looking quite healthy. While due to disfigurant aspects of disease, sufferers would not have passed the exhumation test, and bodies weren't like they weren't, embalmed and stuff in those days. They got buried as were, generally. We didn't do Egyptian rituals because it was considered, against God to mess with the body. Individuals with congenital erythropoietic porphyria do not crave blood. The enzyme necessary to alleviate symptoms, that's the hematin, is not absorbed intact on oral ingestion, and drinking blood would have no beneficial effect on the sufferers. Not with porphyria, maybe it would on hemophilia. A hemophiliac, if you had the, like I said, if you had the adrenochrome in the blood. So these are two different, it says, finally, and most important, the fact that vampire reports were literally rampant in the 18th century and that congenital porphyria is an extremely rare manifestation of a rare disease makes it unlikely explanation for folkloric vampire. So that's what the article said. George III, the mental illness exhibited by him in 1788, a lot of people think that he may have had manic depressive, acute mania, psychosis. The first suggestion that a physical illness was the cause of King George's mental derangement came in 1966, and they thought he had porphyria. It says porphyria in the royal houses of Stuart, Hanover, and Prussia. And it's because they're interbreeding. Those papers were written by a mother-son psychiatrist team. Many psychiatrists disagreed with the diagnosis suggesting bipolar disorder. The theory is treated in Purple Secret, which documents the ultimately unsuccessful search for genetic evidence of porphyria. So what is he trying to say? Like and then he lists a whole bunch of illnesses. George III, descendants of him, Mary Queen of Scots, Maria I of Portugal, Vlad III Dracul. The Impaler was said to have acute porphyria. Vincent van Gogh may have had it. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, physician Archie Cochrane, Paula Fries, and he's saying, so they're talking about porphyria and different genetic diseases. Now we're going to go back here. Let's see if we can find him. And he says, remember, none of us are our bodies. We're here in skin suits and have choice to make on right and wrong decisions. But he's telling you they will say no, there's no porphyria, it's not linked to vampires, but he's literally telling you that there's these diseases and they're to this bloodline. And it goes way back, hundreds of thousands of years, to the original bloodline that didn't interbreed with sort of a monkey rhesus line. I guess the rest of us are monkeys now. So we got a comment, abortion is part of our religion. They will say, and they are telling the truth. It's sacrifice, human sacrifice. Absolutely 100% human sacrifice. I mean, there's really no denying it. So just because we can show some kind of link doesn't mean it's there, but it's interesting that a lot of these practices, there are some people who mistaken someone who is sick, and then the rest of the family gets the disease, right? It happens where commoners thought their kids were vampires. They dug them up and staked them, especially in Eastern Europe, where part of my heritage comes from, ironically. But you often see this stuff in some of these elites, and you don't see it like they dug it up to protect their family. You see it as these elite figures being these horrible blood-drinking monsters. Elizabeth Bathory and Vlad the Impaler are just some of them. I'm sure there are many horrible stories about horrible, narcissistic, psychopathic rulers that were very cruel to their people and preyed on people. Preyed on all of them. Now, they're still practicing incest, or she wouldn't have said that. That a relative, Nathalie, what's her name? Nathalie Rames Rothschild wouldn't have said that. And I'm actually shocked that she did say that. And just go back to watch Candace Owens talk about Macron and his husband as a man. Everyone's like, you're crazy. This is nuts. This is nuts. Well, be a puppet. Believe that that's a woman. Go ahead. From some pictures. No, it's not just some pictures. And if you're paying attention, you'll know they're not basing it on just some pictures. The investigation is so much more. But here's the thing. Everybody has a box that they're in. Everybody's got a box that they live in. And some of those boxes are that they have to worship Trump no matter what. Some of those boxes, they have to have a figure above them that they view as this almighty connection to whatever. Some people are royalists no matter what. Some people will vote for the Liberal Party no matter what. And if that is how you are, you're going to be easy to trick. If you'll vote for liberals without seeing who they really are, they can just switch it around and change it at any time. And that's what they've done. If you just vote for them because you're in this box of thinking, and if you're never questioning, it's the most, I mean, it's dangerous, but it's how they control us. It's because we stay in essentially these little boxes. Now, I don't know that King Charles has any kind of weird disease. He is with cancer, apparently, if it's true. Some people don't even believe it's true, but he is with cancer. Trying to look for this. And I have this article on. It's a conspiracy article, but we'll pop it up in the browser and have a look. Let you guys see it. It's a nice website too. King Charles III and his alleged demonic pact. Does he have a pact? Look, pacts with the devil was big through in different parts of the history. In opera, you have Faust. Somebody who makes a pact with the devil. Maybe it's not his pact. Maybe it's an old pact. Maybe someone's made something somewhere, because the royal families have, in my opinion, if they're doing it to be popular, well, that's really sad. But they have literally left their own religion, their own country. They've abandoned it. They've long abandoned it. And it's like we're being merged into this strange thing. And Elon Musk, said a really strange thing today. I'll have to find it on X, but let's read this first. Let's not skip around too much. Conspiracy realist, King Charles III and his alleged demonic pact. The conspiracy theory about this demonic pact is, and I'm not saying this is true, that King Charles III has entered into a demonic pact and he's made a deal with malevolent supernatural entities to gain power, longevity, and influence. I don't think it's working for him. I don't think it's working for him. This theory often intertwines with historical legends, occult practices, and the mysterious aspects of the British monarchy. According to this narrative, the pact is believed to grant Charles extraordinary ability and control, but at a terrible cost. Maybe that's why he has cancer. Historical context and symbolism of this, the idea of monarchs making pacts with dark forces is not new. Many rulers in history have been rumored to have dealings with the occult and the devil. Look in the castle that King Charles III's grandmother, the Queen Mother, was born in. It's a Scottish castle. I'll remember the name, but it's got a legend of the Baron of the castle, or whatever his name is, playing cards with the devil, on the Sunday, on the Sabbath, and he pays a price for gambling on the Sabbath because the devil comes and plays with him, right? So it's there. We got the black nobility. One popular explanation ties King Charles to the concept of black nobility, a group of powerful European families rumored to be involved in satanic ritual occult practice. I think that's most likely. Proponents argue that Charles, as a member of the British royal family, is part of a secretive elite. Well, he's in with the Rothschilds. We know that. And they control the banking in England and in Europe, so they control everything. They're saying occult practices and rituals and longevity in health. So here is the Illuminati connection. One variation of the theory links King Charles to Illuminati. The other one is that he's a reptilian shapeshifter. Now, there's people who swear they've seen people shift. I don't know if that's true. I've not seen it. They're saying King Charles isn't human. He's a reptilian shapeshifter. Then there's the Antichrist prophecy. You guys can tell me which one you think's the best. Okay. Some interpretations of the theory of the demonic pact is that King Charles is the Antichrist, a figure prophesied in the Bible to bring about the end times. In this version, the demonic pact is seen as fulfillment of this prophecy, with Charles using his powers to usher in a new era of darkness. Well, he's ushering in something. That's for damn sure. And another one explores the idea that the British royal family, including King Charles, possess a unique bloodline that is inherently linked to demonic. I think that one and some occultism is probably there. Lack of concrete evidence, rational explanation. Many events and symbols cited as proponents of the theory can be explained through more rational means. For example, Charles' health and longevity could be attributed to advancements in medicine. Well, he's not very healthy in longevity. He's got cancer right now. Some people misinterpret things historically, psychological and sociological factors, and public statements. He's denounced such theories. So here's the thing. King Charles, we might not see it. We might see it. That's really crazy. He looks like a normal guy. But some of the behaviors that he's doing, if you go and compare them to what would have been acceptable in Christianity to even 200, 300 years ago, he would be seen, and many people in our culture today would be seen as possessed, demonic, something wrong. So I'm not weighing that out, because some of the behaviors that he's doing today, and they can call this globalism, advancement, love, telling us to have love for a culture that really wants to kill us and is quite violent and repressive against women, and wants us to change everything for their culture. Like soon we won't be able to eat pork. We'll have to do everything their way. This is not love. This is, he's preaching this to us. This is our culture. This is where we live. They can change to our rules or go the fuck back there. But there's a bigger picture to this, of course, because there's people are being shifted all over the world because they're bombing that area, and I think they are after certain relics. There's people who believe they're stargates. Look, on my show the other day, I talked about the Ark of the Covenant. There's stuff they're after, and they're rebuilding the temple. So we know who's really controlling this. We've linked Charles to Rothschild. Rothschild has bought that land up where a certain country is now. He's the one who was pushing that even when World War I and Hitler, World War II was around. He's pushing this idea of this land where these people, you know who I'm talking about, I have to be so careful now, must go and reclaim the land and bring back the Messiah and rebuild the temple. You know what I'm talking about. And the Rothschilds are linked to that. And they're all interbreeded and intertwined with these royal families. I don't know what else to say. And like I said, a lot of them are interbred. There's certain diseases, and I think it causes certain behaviors and habits all along. And now they might be able to get the synthetic version of things and alleviate that. But I think they just have a penchant for it. I just think they have a psychopathy for smuggling children. They could end all this if they wanted to. They act like it's so hard to catch all these smugglers, so hard to catch all these drugs. It's not. They make it hard on purpose. We have Mexican drug cartels that are using Israeli technology that Israelis had to spy on your phones. Mexican drug cartels have gotten that technology from Israel, and they're using it to spy on us, on our phones. I kid you not. This is how crazy the world's getting. It's absolutely insane. And this figure we have sitting on the throne, this joke mock figure, has no power except to show up and say speeches where he's telling people basically to love a culture that wants them dead. I'm not for any of these cultures. I think Sharia law shit and Islam needs to go back there. I think those other people If they want that war with Iran, they need to fucking fight it themselves. We should be done here. We should be done with all of this crazy stuff. So I've talked about that. We've got the painting from hell. Remember that? Does this look like a normal... I mean, I know it's got the butterfly on it, but really... I mean... Does this look like a normal royal regal? This stands out from every single portrait that's ever been done of the royal family. And there was a big stink when this was released, shortly after he became king. But more and more I look back at this photograph. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, I'm so sorry you won't be able to see it, but you know what it is. It's all red. He looks like he's literally merged into the background, and it all sort of bleeds together. You can see his hands. You can see a bit of his uniform, and his face is a different color. But he literally looks like he's merged in blood, bathed in blood. This is a message, in my opinion, that we're looking at a very different king, and things are going to be very different from when Queen Elizabeth II reigned. And this signified to us something really frightening. We should have been really freaked out when we seen this. To me, this is an alarming thing that they would stave that far away from tradition, as to make a painting that looks like a bloodbath. The only thing they're missing is the impaled people in the background. We got comments in the audience. This is totally demonic. They are rubbing it in our faces. They're telling us things are different, guys. War is coming. A lot of you going to be dead. And I mean, if you wanted people not believe that there's an antichrist, this would not be the picture. You wouldn't use this picture to convey peace, nobility, strength, that we're moving. He's got control of things. He's going to guide the Anglican Church back to tradition. This would not be the picture. This would be like the picture I'd put if I wanted to terrorize people, or signify something's wrong, that something's off, that things are not as usual. And remember, in a lot of these rituals, they have to tell you. See you, Sean. Thanks for stopping by. They have to tell you what they're doing. In their belief, they have to tell you, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. They either do it because they lie. Wonder where they learned that from. They lie, or they subvert it and tell you in terms of like a movie that's fantasy, but it's real. They're really telling you what they're going to do. And you remember King Charles' father, Prince Philip, who was his Queen Elizabeth II's cousin, and they married and had kids. And their kids all have that horsey face. My husband reminded me of this. King Charles II, or Prince Philip, who's King Charles II's father, once said that if he could come back, and I'm paraphrasing here, if he could come back as anything, if reincarnation was true, he would like to come back basically as a deadly virus to wipe out, like basically kill humanity. These guys are eugenicists. Bill Gates is a eugenicist. They're eugenicists. They want depopulation. They want slaughter. You couldn't, yes, I know that background of this picture is rather, what's the word? There's a little bit of, I wouldn't call it, my arts Day's words are have left my brain, but it's an impressionistic, and it's just a bunch of, textured paint strokes in different colors and stuff, and it's not entirely abstract, but there's an abstract and a chaos to that background. I think that's, to me, like, there's a chaos, and he's emerging out of this bloody fucking chaos. And yes, we can all project ourselves onto paintings and stuff, but I don't think we're projecting. I think there's something wrong with these people, and I think they've done this on purpose. Because if you wanted to portray regalness, this wouldn't be the painting. I've never seen a painting like this in my life. Never have I seen a painting like this in my life for the royal family to be presented with. And he seemed to be okay with it. I'm going to put this up on the screen. It says, J blood in royal veins. They're saying in all the royal families this sort of blood line exists. And I'm not going to read it because we'll get in trouble. But I'll leave it up there and you can screenshot it, pause it, and read it. This was from a news article in the 1890s. I'll give you a link. It was from the Telegraph, I believe it was. No, okay. I will tell you where it's from. This was from the Sacramento Daily Union, volume 86, number 54, 21st of October, 1893. And I'll send you the link. So there's a big plan. And the reason they want to make it illegal to talk about this stuff is because they don't want you to know what they're doing. And that's why they call everything anti-Semitism, racism and hate speech, because they don't want you talking about this stuff. They don't want you talking about how bizarre they are and weird. And they you're not allowed to call George Soros anything. You're not allowed to criticize his movements, even though he helped the Nazi Party hunt his own people down. You talk about him and say that you're an anti-Semite, even though he's the one who did the hate. And he admitted it. And he has no remorse over it. Zero remorse over what he did. So they don't want you to know stuff like that. I put the link for you guys. Abstract art, abstract expressionism. It really is abstract, that painting. Pop it back up. The background is abstract. And out of the abstract chaos emerges this figure of King Charles III. It's interesting, this shortly after he was diagnosed with cancer. Sorry, my image is going blurry. I moved too fast for the camera. It didn't like that. I apologize. There it goes. It's almost prophetic. And they always act like, yeah, we just hired this person and they did it and we didn't know. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that there wasn't some kind of discussion and they don't look at the artist and go, they don't really evaluate this. I just don't believe it. And anything that's coming out of the royal family should be heavily evaluated. You don't, unless people are getting stupider and things just move faster and they just do crazy things. But I think this is quite intentional, and I think it was a message, and a terrifying one. And they will tell you, they'll lie to you and cheat you. But every time, all throughout history, when you see these visuals are done for a reason. They're communication, they're propaganda, they're always done for a reason. You go back through Christianity and, early Christians, it was very pious. Jesus was a pious figure. And you'll start to see after the 1300s, like when the church is trying to get more and more control over people who were not Christian, they turn that pious view into a really stern Jesus. And you can see some of the epigraphs and the reliefs carved over churches. I used to study this in art history. A lot of these relief carvings, you see Jesus suddenly turn stern, and that idea of hell, you're going to burn in hell because we're so horrible, like as if these elites and these power hungry people aren't doing. This is the same stuff they've always been doing. Now they're telling us we're burning hell. Now we're racist. Now this and this. They always are doing this stuff to manipulate our minds and tell us we're wrong and we're bad and we're going to burn. When it's really them who are doing all the really creepy, crazy, fucked up shit. I guarantee you. And this king is very much a World Economic Forum. He's very much marks a very different royal family that we are not used to. Very different, not English tradition. You know, he hasn't kept anything up. He's not a king of the people. He's not the king of the English people. He may want to pretend he is, but he is not. There's nothing about him that says, hey, here you go. Okay, let's pop up this other article and we'll tie it up. You guys weigh in if you want in the comments. Remember, it's time to hit that thumbs up. I hate selling things. I don't like pitching sales at all. So I know a lot of podcasts are like, our sponsor is in this. I don't think I can do that shit, if I can be really honest. I think I just want to talk about those topics. Like Maxfield says, if the king didn't like that painting, it wouldn't have been out there. Exactly. He likes it. He's like, yeah, I like this shit. This shit is good. I want people to be freaked out and scared. Okay, here we go. David Icke is English. He lives on the Isle of Wight. Let's see what David Icke says. Oh, this was by Richard Willett, but headline comment by David Icke. He says, meet the Great Reset King. Charles is the Great Reset King. He's ushering this in. Cult operative promotes cult agenda. What synchronicity? And they say, for decades, attempts have been made to use climate change to justify radical policy changes, but the Great Reset is the most ambitious and radical plan. And we're seeing it right now. These wars are part of it. These wars are all part of it to divide things up and reset things. And there's two countries that aren't controlled by the Rothschilds Bank, and that's Russia and Iran. And guess who they're coming at? Both ends, whether it's Israel or Ukraine, they're coming at both these countries. That's why they want you to STFU about it. So in June 2020, the World Economic Forum and then Prince Charles launched the Great Reset. In an article announcing its launch, Klaus Schwab wrote that all aspects of our society and economies must be revamped. Oh, he used the word revamped. We're just talking about vampires and Porphyria and Vlad. That's interesting. Must be revamped from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country from the United States to China must participate. And every industry from oil to gas and tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. This is neo-feudalism, where they're controlling everything. Charles said, we have a golden opportunity to see something good from this coronavirus crisis, which is why they ushered it in. It was part of the reset and now a war. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to a big vision of change. That's why they're pretending like they didn't plan it, but everything said that they're saying says it's planned. It is an opportunity we have never had before. A royal dirty scumbag always creates the chaos for an opportunity. Do you see this picture? I'll pop it up again. He's coming out of the chaos. And you see the background's chaos? He's got the little butterfly there. And he's merging out of it. This is so representative of what these people are. Whether or not they intended that, who knows? But that's what it looks like. Shortly after the launch, The Hill wrote, although many details about the Great Reset won't be rolled out until the World Economic Forum meets in 2021, the general principles of the plan are clear. The world needs massive new government programs and far-reaching policies. That's government control. Governments are evil. They always have been. Charles is the Great Resetter. He's the WEF king. And he doesn't really have power. He just has representational. And that's enough because people will listen to him thinking, oh, it's our king. He loves us. If your king loved you, he wouldn't be having your country be invaded by Muslims who really don't want you to exist. It's a WEF mission to improve the state of the world and the urgent need to reshape it in the next 50 years that has inspired me to be with you here today after an absence of 30 years. We're in the midst of a crisis now, that you created. So there you go. That's David Icke's view of it. He's the Great Reset King. He's the WEF. He's all of that. It is phenomenal. I mean, it really is phenomenal. And if you live the day-to-day life where you just go to 9 to 5 and you think they're all telling you the truth and you don't actually understand propaganda and media and control, and I sometimes think, wow, I'm so crazy I took all that stuff, but a lot of the stuff I took in history, in art history, it's shown me patterns of control and manipulation in religion. Even when I was talking about those beliefs, a lot of the stuff I learned in university, and I'm sitting here and I'm watching them do similar stuff with paintings, and I'm seeing the repeats all the time. And when I learned graphic design and got my degree in it, I started to see how propaganda was done. You don't have to be propaganda, you could tell the truth, but I don't know, people like to be screwed over. They are saying digital currency by October, but we will see. Well, Jack Danger is coming back next week, and we'll probably talk about a lot of that stuff. He was supposed to be here today. He's coming on next Wednesday, and we'll talk about some things with Trump. We don't know. I know a lot of you may get upset with me for saying this, but I have a brain that can see things and think, and Trump could be all part of the plan to roll out things. I think what they do is they split the left and the right. It's a false dichotomy against each other. And then they start two wars, one that the left will support, one that the right will support, which is what we're seeing. And then they can go in on two ends, and they're going to merge. Yeah, Max, Jack couldn't be here tonight. He had an emergency, but he's coming back next week. So he will be here. I'm going to have Jack Danger on. I'm also going to have Dean Bertram on about aliens and UFOs on 23rd, Dr. Dean Bertram. So I got a couple of guests, and we're going to cover Canadian elections. Tomorrow, I'm probably, guys, going to do a live stream, a docu-stream. Maybe we'll watch Grey Wolf and look at Hitler escaping Argentina. The documents from Argentina haven't been released yet, but let's see. Well, yeah, Trumpty Dumpty loves the digital ID, and they're making ID so you have to, I believe you should have ID to vote, but I think they're going to trick us and tie all of this into, digital ID and being monitored. So in order to vote, in order to do anything, you're going to have to be stamped and monitored. Elon Musk, disturbingly, let's go to Candace. I'll find it on hers. Elon Musk said something that's so disturbing. People think Candace is whack. Candace isn't whack. Candace has just opened her eyes to a lot of stuff. She's not whack at all. Let's see. Here it is. I'm going to show you this. I'll share this, and we'll show you what Elon Musk is going to be out at Doge. A lot of people are saying he was out anyways. We're kind of leaving the King Charles III by, because I think we know King Charles III is not good. Now, apparently, Elon Musk is going to be out at Doge, but they're saying that was always the plan. But I'm hearing stuff about him getting on Susie Wells' nerves, and Susie Wells is pro-Zionist stuff too. I mean, she just is. But Susie Wells has been telling people to make their thoughts on Elon known to President Trump. So I don't know how much longer. He'll probably be in there until May, end of May, beginning of May. I don't know. But here's what Elon Musk believes. And this is the most disturbing stuff at all. He says, as I mentioned several years ago, it increasingly appears that humanity is a biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. And then Candace says, the human soul was formed so that we could check notes assist digital superintelligence? Absolutely wild that some of you cannot perceive what's happening. She thinks she's basically being sarcastic. And because Elon's saying that the human soul was formed so we could assist with digital superintelligence. I haven't got words. And she says that's absolutely wild that some of you cannot perceive what is happening right now and that most of you are cheering this on. And wow, it's so crazy. Robbie's Reth said he can shove his satanic mark right up his ass. And then Billy Barber says, what is it that you think is going on? I'm not being sarcastic, but I love you, Ian, so I'm interested. What's going on is Elon's pushing that we need to accept this AI and all this stuff in our heads because that's what we're here for. Our purpose on this planet is so they can install AI and super digital chips up our ass and in our brain. That's what he's saying. The people who aren't, don't see this stuff as a problem. It's kind of weird because I don't really think that's our purpose. Do you guys think that's our purpose? Do you think your purpose is to be chipped and microchipped and surveyed? And I don't know, Christianity teaches us something different. I'm pretty sure it knows we're flawed and that it's kind of about charity and forgiveness, and it doesn't ever say in the Bible, it actually warns us against this stuff. It doesn't say thou shalt be microchipped. Thou shalt be a cyborg. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that at all. It's concerning, and people like my son, they're going to waltz right into this and be like, hey, I want a chip in my brain. I'm so fucking lazy. I don't want to get up and do anything. Chip my ass. I don't know what to say, guys. But this stuff is coming in, and I don't know if there's any way to stop it. I mean, I guess we could all go offline and cancel everything, and then it would be done. That's the only thing that would stop it. Maxfield says, I think that our soul is the only thing that we have to fight the technocratic bio-digital convergence. Yeah. We'd have to shut everything. I'd have to stop podcasting. Everybody would have to stop and shut it down and kill it. And I don't mean literally kill someone. I just mean stop it. And you'd have to know who was above those Rothschilds. Everyone keeps saying Rothschild. It's like Star Wars, guys. Nobody knew that the politician was the emperor. Throw away the cell phone. Yeah, that's a tough one because every job makes you rely on it. I haven't worked at a job lately where you didn't have to have some type of mobile app or something. It's so crazy. I don't know, you guys. I've covered a whole bunch of stuff. WEF connections, Vlad the Impaler connections. He's pro-Islam. Why is he anti-Christian? Why isn't he like his predecessors who defended the church? Why does he have cancer if the elites already have a cure for it? Is it part of the plan? Did they give him cancer? Does he have cancer? Why has he turned the Anglican? Well, the Anglican Church is a joke. The Anglican Church is not the original faith. I'm baptized Anglican, and I'm telling you it's not the original faith. It's not. Catholicism, probably the closer you're going to get some kind of Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox, and some really old form of Catholicism, maybe like a really old Bible. Anything Protestant post 1800s, 1812, it's done. It's got the Schofield Bible. Catholics didn't adapt that Schofield stuff early on, like the Protestant churches in America did. But they have Vatican II, so they stripped the tradition right out of it. We talked about blue blood diseases, porphyria. I'm talking about hemophilia. There's a whole bunch of there's that King Charles II of Spain. He's one of the most deformed royals. There's a lot of diseases that happen. There's a lot of diseases that happen in the KM, the Ash, because they keep it together and they interbreed. They just interbreed so closely that they end up with these blood diseases. The Russian Orthodox are tough as nails, yeah. And that's slowly coming back strongly in Russia. And they're threatened by that as well. Because they're demonic. We talked about the blue blood diseases, the demonic pact, the painting from hell. His father's a eugenist. They all want us to die. Everything that all these people were talking about has sort of come true. And we'd have to step away from all the technology. And I don't think we're going to do that. So I don't know, maybe God will send another flood and flood this shit all away. Who knows what will happen. But we're making Sodom and Gomorrah look like, child's play. Necrophilia, adrenochrome, yeah, connection was a good hit. The hemophilia, the blood clotting stuff. It's interesting that some of these royals had this. Not all of them, but some of them get this. Tsar Nicholas's son, Alexis, I think that was his name. He had hemophilia. He was a very fragile child. He was the only male. Yeah, it's not necrophilia. I wouldn't put the necrophilia past them, but it was hemophilia. Yeah, they're hemophiliacs. So it's just all this stuff is very interesting. And of course they celebrate weird symbols, weird religion. I think they present one ritual to us and they do a different one behind the scenes. And apparently the Rothschilds have a dark money ritual that they partake in. That's why they have usury. And usury, this is all usury. The outrageous interest charges, compound interest on credit cards. Christianity said this was illegal. This is bad. You're not supposed to do usury. And so who had no problem doing usury. But they shouldn't be doing it either. It's evil. It's all evil. And they all do it. That's why we have all this crazy debt and interest. It's all bad. It's all crazy, you guys. And King Charles III, he's just the tip here. He's just the front face. He hasn't even got that much power. Although they have tons of money and tons of finances. But they're all linked and it's really depressing. So I'm going to go. I'm going to head out. That's all I got for you guys today. We're going to do a docu-stream tomorrow. I think I'll start a little early. I think I'll start around 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to docu-stream probably Grey Wolf. Have a look at Hitler. I'm not doing this to idolize him. We're just going to look at the idea that he may have escaped. Maybe he was in with the Rothschilds. Who knows? Maybe he was in. Who knows what the fuck anymore? I'm going to go take my dog for a walk and talk to my husband. Because, that's one. There's some things that I am sure of. My poor little Poochie. And he's out there telling me to tie this up, guys. Okay, so join me tomorrow. Remember, go to the website, genxonx.com for all the links. We're going to do that really quickly. genxonx.com. I thank you guys for showing up. They're all fucking crazy. And we'll see what happens. Will he survive cancer? Will William come in? And God knows what William will be like. We have no idea. We have no clue. These people are weak and they're crazy. Thank you very much for joining. I'm out of here, guys. And I really appreciate it. I don't have anything to sell. I just ask that you put some thumbs up and share stuff and show up and have a chat with me. And I will see you tomorrow.